Hi, welcome to SBRForum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing UFC 162 right now with returning guest, as always, Nick Kalikas, professional MMA odds maker. His site is MMAoddsbreaker.com, and I'm very happy to welcome a new guest to the show, Kuhn. He is known as the Fight Scientist. His website is Fightnomics.com, and he analyzes MMA fights from a quantitative perspective. Kuhn, tell us a little bit about yourself. You analyze MMA from a statistical perspective, and there's not a whole lot of that. Tell us a little bit about Fightnomics.com and about who you are and what you do.
That's right. I'm trying to do quantitative analysis for the first time in MMA. With the addition of FightMetric creating official statistics for the UFC, this is really the first opportunity we've had to have full historical data that is complete and robust. And so really, I'm just tearing it apart every which way I can and writing a book about it, but then also trying to analyze individual matchups to get better at understanding what really matters in a fight.
That's awesome. And all this can be found at Fightnomics.com, right?
Yes.
All right. That's great. That's great. Definitely give us a unique perspective on these fights where normally it's just, Nick and someone else and me just sitting around going, well, I think this, I think that. This guy has a sick guillotine. You have the stats to back it all up. All right, let's talk about Weidman and Anderson Silva. Right now, Anderson Silva is at 5 dimes. I'm seeing minus 220. Weidman is plus 180 on the other side. And, the same conversations coming up again. Anderson's age. People are saying Weidman, he can copy the blueprint that Chael Sonnen used, control Silva on the ground. A lot of, big names are calling for an upset here by Weidman. But, he really hasn't fought that many people. He didn't look that great against Damian Maia. So in light of all that, plus 180, that's kind of giving him a lot of respect. Don't you think, Nick?
I think so, but you know what? If anybody can get the job done right now, I think it's stylistically it should be Chris Weidman. I mean, the guy's definitely a talent. I know a lot of people are saying he lacks in experience, and Anderson Silva is definitely the best fighter that the UFC's ever had, no doubt about it. Best pound-for-pound fighter. The guy's going to probably go down as one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. So that being said, I just think that eventually his end is near, I think. There's only a few more fights left, I think, in his career, and somebody's eventually going to pick him off. And like I said, stylistically, I think Chris Weidman's that guy. He can probably implement the same game plan Sonnen had against him. Now, is he going to have the same kind of success? It's going to be hard to determine that, but that's why the betting line is where it is, though.
What about the fact that he's never gone 5 rounds? I mean, he's stepping up here. He's going to go 5 rounds against Silva. All right, maybe Silva's lost a quarter step at 38. It's still a huge step up from anything that he's seen before.
Yeah, it is. And realistically, I think that's one of my biggest concerns a little bit is his cardio. Now, he's stepped in before and taken the fights on short notice. So I guess you got to cut him a little bit of leeway there. But as far as cardio goes, it doesn't matter if Anderson Silva is the older fighter. I think the cardio by far favors Anderson here. Right. But I think that the ground game and the overall submission game of Chris Weidman is going to be legit enough and a threat enough that he can get this fight to the floor, control it. He should be in better cardio shape coming into this fight. And at the same time, he doesn't have to really be as concerned with Anderson Silva off his back. Silva does have a dangerous guard. He subbed Sonnen in his first fight. I don't think he has to be as concerned. His sub defense is a lot better than Sonnen's as well. So I think if his cardio's there, he should be able to probably get the job done here.
All right, Kuhn from Fightnomics.com. The market's giving Anderson Silva about a 2/3 chance of winning this fight. How do you see these lines?
Well, I think giving Chris Weidman some respect here is deserved. I think he's been described as maybe a slightly better version of Sonnen, a more dangerous version, a younger version. He is all those things. And actually, when I compare them side by side, Chris Weidman does outperform Sonnen in a lot of variables that are going to be important to this fight. But at the end of the day, he's going to have to stand with Silva at some point. And Anderson Silva, statistically speaking, is the greatest and most dangerous striker in UFC history. No question about that. So it's a matter of, can Weidman eliminate that threat, get this on the floor round after round after round? And that's where I see some openings. At some point, Anderson Silva, his takedown defense is actually over 80%, which puts him at way north of average. And remember, he has been facing very tough opponents. That average is based off a very high level of competition. So he has been successfully defending takedowns before. Sonnen was able to exploit him, win some rounds, but eventually he opens up the defense and Silva finds a way to penetrate. So I think Silva wins this fight. If there's value on the line, it's probably on Weidman simply because he is nearly a 2-to-1 dog here. But I'm probably going to lay off this one just because I do think Silva will win.
All right, I mean, probably the biggest, most controversial factor at play here is Silva's age. When is he going to start declining? I mean, when you analyze this fight from a quantitative perspective, do you take that into consideration at all? How does that play in here?
That's why I do think there is value on Weidman. There's a 9-year age differential here, and very importantly, Silva is almost 40 years old. He's 38 right now. And when there's a 9-year age differential, the younger fighter normally wins about 2/3 of the time. And so when you have an underdog who is much younger and in his prime, where you have a fighter who is above 35, those are the danger categories, and that's where you'd normally expect the younger fighter to win more often than not. But I have factored that in. That's why I think there is maybe some value here on Weidman. But Anderson Silva has yet to be fully knocked down. He came super close against Sonnen one time, but he has scored 17 knockdowns. He has received 0. And so that shows me that this guy just does not get hit. His defense is very good. He stays out of range, and he is so devastatingly accurate that no one can stand with him for very long. So because of that, he simply hasn't taken much damage.
All right, so Nick, how's the public been betting this? I mean, normally I would assume that, the public is all over Anderson Silva in every fight, but with so many people coming out saying Weidman has a great shot here, including big-name fighters, I'm going to guess maybe you've gotten some public action on Weidman.
Well, at the beginning, when I posted the line, I opened at -215 for Anderson Silva, and everybody was kind of laughing, thinking, oh, what a crazy line that is. It got bet up immediately, close to 4-1, maybe higher than 4-1. So everybody was kind of mocking that line a little bit. Now, as we get closer to fight time, look where the line's at. It kind of close to where I opened it as well.
Do your metrics ever spit out a prop bet as having likely value?
I do sometimes look at that, yes. And it's definitely inside the distance type stuff for larger fighters or fighters that are prone to knockouts. In this situation, we have, if Silva wins, it's probably by TKO. But I have looked at that prop bet, and it's nearly identical to the win line. So I don't think there's a whole lot of value there. So again, I think it's Chris Weidman. He can either grind out a decision maybe by volume strikes or submission later on, but early on I don't see it. So I think it'll go a couple rounds for sure, because I think Silva is willing to lose a couple first before he finds that opening. So maybe there's some potential for a prop bet there.
The over 2.5 is a +125. That might be, sure, Silva could get a second round TKO or something, but maybe that's worth a bet.
That could be worth a bet. I think if he lands the TKO, it's going to probably be in round 2. And so that's probably the steepest, or that's the best value in terms of, I think there's a +400 or something on that line. So I would consider that one, or it'll go longer.
Okay, Nick, who do you think you're going to need in this one? You think you're going to be roughly balanced? You think you're going to actually wind up needing Silva?
No, I think we're going to end up needing Weidman, actually. And like I said, that's okay with me because I'm probably going to put a small bet on Weidman myself. So
really?
I think, like I said, his time's probably, unfortunately, come to an end. All great fighters, end up having that spot. And I think stylistically, that's one of the reasons why Anderson kind of avoided this, whether people want to admit it or not. He wasn't really eager to take this fight. I think he knows this is a fight he can potentially lose. I don't know if he's going to lose it because he's the man. Definitely no disrespect to Anderson at all. He's the greatest of all time. I'll say it again. But stylistically, I love Weidman's chances. So, yeah, we're going to probably need Weidman to come through for the upset here. I mean,
do you think we've actually seen any actual evidence in the ring that Silva might be losing a step?
No, I mean, the guy's looked great, honestly. I mean, the only bad fight that he's had is basically getting put on his back for 4 rounds against Sonnen.
Right.
Other than that, the guy's looked magnificent. So, no, I don't think there's signs of that. Like I said, if there's going to be even a cardio edge, I think Anderson Silva still has a cardio edge, even at his age.
And then Reed Kuhn, if you had to make a bet on this fight, any which way, what would it be?
I think the sneaky prop bet I would go for is a Silva for a second round finish. And that returns a pretty good margin, I think, of +425, I think, if I checked recently. That's probably where I would go.
All right. Great preview, guys. Thanks so much.